Welcome back, guys, to Unemployed Film Snobs. We have another episode for you guys. So this time we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite, whether you've seen it or not, or you grew out of it, which we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about Disney Animation Studio, or movies, I'm sorry. Now, the topic for this is going to be quite extensive, only because we're going to have an expert today. We have seen some Disney movies, but we have somebody who specializes in, honestly, if there was a degree for this, she would win it. We have Marisa Martinez coming into the building, aka the car.
Hello.
This is Marisa Martinez, guys, and like I said, she's going to be joining us today as a guest star. And I'm your host, Brian Delgado.
I'm Joshua Mejia. I'm Joshua Letona. And obviously, feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Marisa Martinez. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to get started. Are we getting some?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, make sure you buckle up.
Safety first.
So yeah, the topic for today is, what did we grow up with in terms of Disney animation movies? What is our favorite? Did we grow out of it? Extensive knowledge. And also, Marisa has some extensive trivia about Disney, even herself, and why we might consider her like the Disney know-it-all. So
I was born in, I feel like it's just like, my history with Disney is complex and frustrating sometimes, but it's almost like I was kind of born into it. Mm-hmm. My mom was working, she got hired for Disney right before Little Mermaid, I guess it was right before the Renaissance era started technically. So there's this whole thing where she didn't really want me to be born the weekend I was born. She wanted me to be born the next weekend. So she was kind of denying her birth symptoms or her labor symptoms. So she went to work that day and ended up, and going to work means that she went to have a lunch with her coworkers at the Disney lot, in Burbank on the Disney lot. And while she was at lunch, her water broke. So I was my beginnings in life, I didn't know until this year even. She didn't tell me the story until this year.
What?
Kind of started at the Disney lot. Because she literally did not, I love you, Mom. Nothing, this is nothing against you. It's just the story of how I wasn't supposed to be born that weekend, but I said, nope, this is how it's happening. And that is how it started. And now my mom's been working there for 20 plus years. My sister works at the parks. I am just a Disney child baby is how it
Almost
ended up
royalty.
happening.
Figuratively and literally, or figuratively and literally.
Yes, I did not ask to be born this way.
But she is. She is born this way. So okay, so I have a question for you. What would you say are the movies? I know there's certain time periods with Disney animation movies. What would you say you were growing up in when you were in your childhood? What were the movies, or what was the era that you were mainly grew up in?
Yeah, so I was born 95, so I was kind of born into, I think it was the Renaissance era. I think my mom, Renaissance era. So that's kind of where I grew up. Little Mermaid.
Can you maybe just clarify what the Renaissance era means, for the people who don't know?
It was around it started around the 80s, and then ended right before the 2000s. So all of the movies that were put out in that time frame is technically called the Renaissance era, because it was coming out of I guess it's technically the Bronze era. I thought it was the Golden Age, but we're all still learning here. But it was coming out of a really weird time where they had the older animators still kind of stuck in their ways of hand-drawn's the way to go. This is the art form. This is how it's supposed to work. Versus how technology was adapting and evolving, and the younger animators were coming into Disney and they were starting to kind of change things up a bit. And then you have a lot of the business side of Disney that there was a lot going on. I think that's where what's his name? What's his name?
Eisner?
Eisner. He came in and started like like just kind of doing his Disney stuff. They had a new head of Disney at that point, or Disney Animation at that point too, so they were butting heads at some point. This is all from like documentaries that I've watched. The what's it called? Waking Sleeping Beauty, I think it's what it's called, the documentary. It goes into this in detail, and it's really fascinating to see the transition from the older years going into the 90s, and then that kind of sets up for the 2000s of animation for Disney. But yeah, that's kind of how it ended up happening. And then they bring on Pixar, who kind of introduced them to, I think it's called the animated, the something system. Hold on, I have it on my notes. CAP system.
The CAP system.
The CAP system. I think that's what it was called. And that turned into computer animation production system. And that's where we got, I think it was Rescuers Down Under. I think it was the first one that they did fully on CAP system. And it didn't do well, and they weren't really happy about it. But it set them up for the future movies that they ended up producing. So, yeah. Anyways, that's long story short. I was born in the 90s, 95s, and had a really great Disney experience with all of those movies that ended up being produced during that era. So, yeah.
Wow.
What about you guys?
Yeah.
Whoever wants to start in the back. We got all the nerds in the back now.
Yeah, no, I was born in 97, so just right at the end of the Renaissance. And honestly, like as we were like looking in our pre-meeting, like a lot of these like just like movies that come out, I feel like I really just was watching a lot of just stuff from their Silver Age. Everything from like Cinderella all the way to like Jungle Book. Especially because the Jungle Book is, I think, probably outside of Fantasia, like my favorite, like of like just any of like their animated films. So like I feel like I remember watching a lot of those growing up. Like that's what I remember my parents got me like on VHS, because Disney puts them out of the vault, quote unquote, because God forbid like one day you're just like, oh, I really want to buy The Lion King, and you can't find it anywhere because they put it back in the vault.
I can speak on that.
But I just remember having like the entire like collection. Like my parents just stocked up on them, and I remember visiting a lot of these specific era ones. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then obviously like going to the movies, everything else was just post-Renaissance. But I'll let you.
Yeah, I mean, for me it's a bit the same. More so towards the end of the Silver Age. I'm 98, was born in 1998, so I was born towards the end of the Renaissance, or around there. But from all the movies I've seen have been around the end of the Silver Age throughout. I was never really huge on Disney. Of course, I liked it as a kid and everything, but my mom and especially my sister considered as a Disney adult. She was very into Disney, so that's how I kind of kept relevant with it. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I've really had a favorite Disney movie, or at least nothing's coming to me right now. So maybe it'll come to me as we continue on.
Cool. So yeah, I was born 97, so yeah, I guess we're just all in the same time period. I was growing up with Renaissance movies, so things like Mulan, Fantasia, Tarzan was, I'm just gonna name off a bunch of movies I just remember. Hercules, right? Things like that. Mulan's my favorite. I don't know if we're going into favorite Disney movies, but I will say that's definitely been my favorite.
I would say Fantasia, because Fantasia always intrigued me.
Solid.
Yeah, it was always intriguing to me. Like, I don't know why, but I was always brought back to it one way or another. But yeah, I would say that, I guess, is my favorite.
And Pocahontas. Even though, we know now, but as a kid, it was great. I loved it. It was a great story.
What is it? So yours is Pocahontas, Mulan. Okay, Mulan. Mejia, yours is Fantasia.
I would say Fantasia, yeah.
If we're picking our number one, I'm also going to have to go Fantasia.
I was thinking about it. For a long time, it was Aladdin. For a very long time, it was Aladdin. But I'm beginning to understand why Beauty and the Beast was such a huge deal. It was the only animated movie that was nominated for Best Picture at one point. And I don't think anything has done that since.
Because after, I think that's when they made the Best Animated and
That's when it came. That's when
I
they
believe-
started. Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah, you know, I
the
never
best anime
realized.
feature came
Yeah.
after, because Beauty and the Beast was the only one, like, the first time it cracked.
There was
in there.
nowhere else it could go, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense. But that one I have a lot of respect for because of that and because of I guess it really like was pivotal for like film history in terms of like awards, and it like made its own category. That's crazy. But yeah, I guess I would have to say by average of how much I adored it growing up, I think it would have to be Aladdin. If not that, then probably The Little Mermaid growing up.
Oh yeah, Little Mermaid.
That was kind of the one too. And the songs, my dad always made fun of me for singing he'd be like, oh, and it'd be like a whole thing. He still
That
makes fun
was
of me
me,
today.
but with like the Jungle Book, as like King Louis would like come on, and that whole song is fantastic.
It's a good song, yeah.
And just like, you know,
You know what else is a good song? You guys are gonna hate me. You know I'm gonna bring it up. The
Don't
Okay, that's not animation, but I just wanted to put that out there since you're in the car with us right now. I just wanted to say that.
Poor Lin-Manuel Miranda, though. It hurts my heart because he loves The Little Mermaid so much to a point where he was like, I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to mess up the new live action at all. It's my favorite movie. He goes and makes this song, and it becomes the most like controversial song of the whole film. And not that he ruined. I don't know if he ruined it. I wouldn't say that. Okay, I'm sorry, Josh. Josh is like, nah. No, but I just feel bad because he probably didn't want that reaction from the fans when it came out. So
Yeah.
I just feel bad. Hey, look, someone has a magic key. That's funny.
Oh yeah, we can't. Well, the audience can't see it.
You
but
can't
yeah.
see it. There's
Somebody
a lot
has
of
the
magic key
magic
holders
keys here.
around here.
Yep.
But the
Yeah.
scuttlebutt,
Okay.
it exists.
It exists. Now I don't want to go. I know I brought it up, but I don't want to.
We don't have to tangent. But the point is,
but
Brian loves the scuttlebutt.
I do.
Scuttlebutt. Yeah. But yeah.
Wait. So what was that thing that you were gonna? You said you wanted to mention about the secret vault.
Oh yeah, okay.
I know,
So
yeah.
my mom. Okay, so when my mom was hired on to Disney, she was actually part of the first team that ended up doing the rollout for VHSs and the rollout for the vault.
VHS.
So she got, and I'm so freaking mad because, what's his name? The comedian from SNL.
Lots of them.
The one,
I think they all are.
the one that dated Ariana Grande. And
Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson. Thank
yeah.
you. So he now collects VHSs that were unopened and sells them for thousands of dollars.
I didn't even know you did that. Wow.
Yeah, he
No,
did. He was
yeah.
talking about it, and like now he's got this like small little fortune based off of VHSs that my mom helped roll out. And I didn't think as a child, as a 5-year-old little girl, that I could probably take some of these, keep them sealed, hide them away, and then I could probably beat Pete Davidson at his own game.
Whoa.
But here we are. So I'm a little bit peeved about it. We don't have to talk about it. But she was part of home entertainment, Disney's home entertainment. So growing up, I got to go to her work a lot and like see what they're working on. I'd see the spreads of the VHSs. She would ask me as a child, like she'd be like, "What do you like? Do you think this is more intriguing than this? What's visually more pleasing?" As a kid, I even got to help out with some of the like billboards and posters. So like when it was also when Pixar was around. So when they did Finding Nemo, I'll never forget this. They held up 2 posters. And they're like, which one do you like best? And it was the one with all of the characters surrounding, I think it was Nemo at the center, but it had all these characters surrounding a single character, and I think it was Nemo. And that one seemed so intriguing to me because it's like eye candy.
Yeah.
Pixar. And I picked that one. I think they ended up running with it at some point. And some, like, they added it to their ad campaign.
You were in a focus group.
Yes. No, but it was a lot of fun. Like, it was just a really cool time growing up with my mom during that era because it was a really cool thing to see the VHSs rolled out. I think she also did Beta. What is it? Beta?
Oh, Betamax.
Betamax. She did that too.
Oh, Betamax.
But it ended up being specifically VHSs onto DVDs and then eventually to Blu-ray. Once the recession hit, they had to collapse the department and bring it into, I think it was a building in Burbank that ended up into the actual studios. It was a building in the studios eventually, and they had to downsize completely. It was not home entertainment anymore. And my mom was let go, unfortunately. She ended up with an advertising company this is like my mom's life works, sorry. She ended up with an advertising company where she still worked on some Disney stuff. She's back at Disney now working on Disney books. So she's always been in media. That's how I ended up being in media, is because my mom. Because she was working in types of medias, and I was like, well, I'll go into social media. So yeah, that's how she ended up, being part of the whole rollout of the VHS situation.
And this is your lesson to collect some physical media.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Collect it now and don't
We
open
talked about
it.
this before, guys. I mean, you know what though? I'll change my tune.
I mean, honestly though, because if you think about it, like, in how many years will the like 4K Blu-rays that we have right now become like the VHSs today?
20 years? In about 20 years.
It's like
20, 25
imagine
years.
It's like Oppenheimer. You buy 2 Oppenheimer, have one that's unopened, and like in 50 years it could be worth thousands of dollars.
That's the way to do it.
Okay, 50 years from now, I'm gonna do that.
We're going to clip this in 50
We're gonna clip
years.
this, and
When we do this
I'm gonna
podcast
buy
in
off.
50 years.
So we're all going to be
Yeah.
millionaires in 50 years.
You know what?
Honestly, it's not a bad idea. 'Cause
Growing up-
you never know. You never know.
You know what? Growing up, I even had a lot of Disney animated movies on VHS, and honestly, I don't know where they went. I think we just like gave them away to a thrift store, and now I really regret
Well,
it.
I know.
growing up, my dad had the collectible Star Wars like figurines, like the collectible. Like we got like they got for cheap because it was just the toys, right? I opened them because I was a
Ah!
kid wanting to play with them, and now they're
Oh my
worth
God.
a couple grand. So more than
No!
a couple of grand actually. I saw one set with the Millennium Falcon that I had, well my dad had, that's going for like 20K. So.
That's what my husband did to his dad's G.I. Joes. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Anyways.
Anyway, that's
Bring us
interesting.
back on track.
Yeah.
Pick up some media and don't open one.
Yes.
That's the moral of the story.
Pick up 2 copies of
2
everything.
copies.
But yes, to put us back on track, so we're talking about like the eras we kind of grew up on,
Right.
and to be more specific, we're all alive as the Renaissance era was kind of ending, and I think we kind of had an interesting point about how like after the Renaissance, like Disney had kind of lost some of their magic, arguably, and I think this is kind of a repeated process. Like I feel like we're seeing it a little bit now, right? But it's for things to be good again, they have to get a little worse. But specifically, I was thinking in our sort of as we were growing up in the post-Renaissance era, where some might call the quote-unquote experimental era. The stuff like we could remember, right? Like the era of like Brother Bear and Chicken Little.
I love Chicken Little.
There's a couple more that I'm forgetting at this moment, but like basically that kind of collection of like movies that we were growing up on. Actually, like. I don't know. I thought we could crack it open because Marisa, you had a kind of great point about how it transitioned for...
Right. So going into the 2000s, right before the recession, we have, like you said, that's actually where Fantasia.
Oh, we don't acknowledge Fantasia 2000.
But
I don't acknowledge it.
Yeah. You guys are your favorites. But so we got like Emperor's New Groove. My least favorite of the bunch is Home on the Range. I can't stand that.
Oh, I forgot about that movie.
Oh, there's a reason. Okay, so but going into this era, there was like for marketing, in terms of marketing, this is confirmed by I literally called up my mom and I was like, this is correct, right? She said yes. So it was going into this era of time where all that they had were like, basically they only had fans of like young girls, and they needed young boys to be in on that. They were missing out on half of like the younger market.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot of princesses, it was a lot of musicals, it was a lot of that. So that's why they started doing stuff like Tarzan. They started doing stuff like Treasure Planet, a favorite of mine personally. Atlantis. Instead of musicals, we saw some amazing work from what's his name, Collins. Phil Collins with Tarzan, which was a like that's such a creative idea instead of doing the musicals. But I think so because that was their way of getting a whole nother side of the market that they weren't targeting originally, or I guess they're deliberately targeting now. Which is technically, when we were talking about this earlier, it was your guys' Like that was
We were
your,
the age
you were
group.
you were it.
Yeah.
They wanted your money. Did you give it to them?
Well, I was a kid, so they had my mom's money.
That's true. But did it work? Did you guys end up really enjoying them?
Yeah.
Does it have impact on you?
So it has, yeah, of course, it definitely has impact. But also keep in mind, like my favorite movie was Mulan, or is Mulan still. So I mean, that's a female protagonist. So I don't know. I never really thought of it that way. It's more of like I liked what I liked. I was a little kid.
Now, in retrospect, right? Like,
well,
now
yeah.
that you know that what the tricks you're pulling, like, do
Of
you
course.
look back and you're like, is Chicken Little in Atlantis? Is that my shit? Or
Yeah, it is. But also, like, at the same time, maybe, like, towards the end of that course, I was also kind of growing out of it because there was other animation movies that I was, or animation stuff that I was watching as well that also have, like, a lot of impact on what Disney already was trying to do.
Yeah.
But we'll get there soon. But
So
what about you guys?
You had the history of like the past work that
Yes.
was still influencing you.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I was an open-minded kid. I wanted to look at everything, you know? Like, and to consider the fact that during that time, like early 2000s, like pink was a girl's color, you know? Like blue was the boys' color. So I feel like that had a lot to do with how Disney was thinking, right? So
They were very gender specific
Yeah.
back in the day, and it's changed a lot since.
Yeah.
So much, which is great. But for you guys, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for me, a little mix of what like Brian said, but for me, I had an older sister by 4 years. So for that, like, she really kind of kept me into the loop with Disney stuff, and like remembering like how I watched Disney films and everything. It mainly came from like just her putting stuff on or her hearing about stuff, because she was older, so she was a little more, in tune with it than I was. So I liked a mix of everything. I didn't really see it as like this is for boys, this is for girls, or just
Yeah.
kind of a mix for me. Or it was good. Like let's put on like 101 Dalmatians. Let's put on like Mulan or Pocahontas or whatever. So yeah, I mean that was kind of how I was raised in terms of like the Disney stuff.
okay. Yeah, I guess for me, like now that I look back in like hindsight, especially as like I think like outside of Marisa here, like I'm probably the biggest Disney fan.
it was either you or Marisa, but I'd rather Marisa.
Yeah.
But yeah,
She was born on part of their property, or was on the way out. So she got
rolling out.
I think it's as close you can get to being born on the lot. But they wouldn't allow it.
You're the only Disney adult I tolerate.
Aw, thanks.
There's a lot of Disney adults I don't tolerate. Anyway, off topic, but go ahead.
Continue.
As I look back at the post-Renaissance era, I just look at this collection of movies, and they're not. Only one of them actually really stands out to me that I revisit all the time, and the rest of these, I don't know if it's just maybe because I had already grown up on so much classic, like with the stuff that Walt had been doing when he was there, and like I mentioned, the Silver Age. But like none of these movies really hit me the way I think Disney was hoping, because the only one that really stuck with me was Lilo and Stitch.
Oh.
That's also
Okay.
So I'm gonna say it didn't work. Because you guys don't seem to be like, oh yeah, Atlantis is my favorite, or like, oh yeah, this one's
It wouldn't be in my top 10.
Yeah.
Well, in
that's true.
hindsight, I would say that like I appreciate it more now. Like when I was growing up, like I didn't really get Treasure Planet. But then again, I was like 6, 7.
Right, right.
So like didn't really have the capacity to really understand the depth of it, or like the depth that they're trying to give across. But now that I'm older, in hindsight, when looking back, I do appreciate it more. I do like them a lot better now.
That's fair.
That makes sense. I really would like to get the Tarzan vinyl, like the music, the score. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
They didn't have to go hard on it, and they did. Anyways.
I was just gonna bring something up too. Like, this is kind of like a trend. Well, obviously, it's I don't want to delve too deep into this either, but there's a trend where it's like Disney tries to adapt, obviously due to business needs, and we've seen that with this, and then we also with the marketing, and then we also see that with
I feel like it's the current state right now.
And its current state right now, yeah, too. So, I mean, how do you guys feel about Disney now? I mean, Disney...
Yeah, and with that, I think we can break open a little bit how you're talking about other stuff you're watching, because the thing about Disney now is also kind of how I feel about other animation studios. right?
Now they have more competition.
They have more competition.
Because before I felt like it was solely just Disney stuff.
And DreamWorks, was trying, and they really came out swinging.
They got some really good ones.
Yeah.
What? So when did Shrek come out? Like,
That was such a big like fu to Disney, that whole movie, and it was so good the way that they did it. And still, like, my favorite is Shrek 2.
Oh yeah.
That's like hands down. That's one of the, it's one of the rare times where the second film is better. I need to hear that is like cinematic history in that one scene. It's so great. Yeah, the Shrek 2 is one of those really great seconds that did better than the first, I feel like, just in storytelling.
Yeah.
But that whole franchise is literally just like, it was to tell Disney, like, we can do it too, and it doesn't have to be you. Like, and they did that really well.
This is kind of getting sidetracked, but just speaking of Shrek, recently I saw on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it nowadays, that it was a original rough animated draft of Shrek was released, or was like leaked online.
Really?
Have you guys seen that?
Oh, no. I did. I know what you're talking about.
It was pretty ugly.
It looked horrendous. The early design of Shrek is not great.
Is it the one where his arms are like out?
No.
And
He just had very like obtuse like shapes.
Yeah.
And I think that was the version at the time that was going to be played by Chris Farley before his unfortunate passing.
Oh my god.
And then they like re-energized the character once Mike Myers came in. But definitely,
not speaking anything bad against Chris Farley, great actor, great comedian, but nothing beats Mike Myers' Shrek.
And so, yeah, I mean, if you can listen to the Chris Farley like audio stuff, it's out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just to pivot us back, like I guess like part of that is like as we talk about like what exactly is going on with Disney right now. Like, do we feel like we've grown out a little bit of it? And we kind of are doing this episode around the timing of like not only their Disney 100, but Marisa and I both saw Wish, and we don't really have to like get too much into that like to review it or anything, but how it stands as like a staple of like where the company is. And I would just say like it's a mixed bag, and it definitely feels like we're back in like the post-Renaissance era of like they need to rediscover their identity a bit.
Well, I feel like, I haven't seen Wish, but just in the general kind of identity of Disney, I feel like there's still like a lot of companies, just a lot of media places now. They're figuring it out because the times are changing super fast.
Mm-hmm.
I think faster than, I think how times are changing now is way faster than it was, like back in the 90s and 2000s. Like at least they had periods where everything was the same for a good 6 years.
Yeah.
Like it feels like almost every year it's different so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they're just trying to change rapidly, but they're like once they kind of catch up, it's already too late.
Yeah.
And like once they kind of feel like they find their footing a bit, we're in something completely different.
Mm-hmm. And like like I'm thinking like we were talking about this just before we started recording, but we're looking at like the Oscars, and honestly like at what point is like Disney making a movie that deserves like best animated? And we're specifically Walt Disney, animation. I'm sure there's still some Pixar ones that still come out and like swing, but every now and then it's like why would I'm trying to remember like what was like nominated that year, but yeah, we saw like I Lost My Body and Spider-Verse, like two of the best animated movies of that year. Like I can't remember what Disney movie came out that year, but I can't imagine it was better than either of those.
2019, I think.
2019.
What came out 2019?
So it would have been a 2018 movie. So whatever it was, once we get that information. But like the point being, right? Like, you're right. Like the competition is getting fierce. DreamWorks, like Puss in Boots, The Last Wish was fantastic.
I think DreamWorks.
Oh god, that was such a great movie. My heart is in Puss in Boots. That movie, it was so good.
I think what it is too is I think that Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, kind of started it all, but the whole of mixing different types of animation.
Mm-hmm.
Like hand-drawn, painting. I mean, one of the first movies that I saw that was like painting. This one was a bit different because it was literally hand-painted. Every still was not Disney, not at all, so completely away from this, but there was a movie called Loving Vincent about Vincent van Gogh, but that one really changed the game in terms of animation because that takes time. Hand painting those frames takes a long time.
Yeah.
So I feel like with Puss in Boots that very look hand painted, like, you know, had that, like, you know, painterly quality, and like now Spider-Verse, you know, is mixing like 70 different types of animations into like one.
I think that's for Disney, when they first started making animated movies, they changed the game in terms of what a movie could be. That was the first time anyone had seen a full-length animated film at all. Movie at all. So I think when you're saying that, they're looking now for their identity in what they are animated wise. They went from hand-drawn to the
CGI.
See the computer animated programming to CGI to 3D, which was what we talked about. That was Chicken Little. Like they've gone through all these technological advances to create art. I think I think someone else got there before they did, where they realized, oh, you can mix these up and it would look great, which is what they did with that was basically Sony, right? With if I'm remembering,
For Spider-Verse?
For Spider-Verse.
Yeah, Sony.
They're the one who did it. If someone else did it before them, they're the ones who nailed it.
And also just opened up the gates to, like, because this is something, like, I feel like when I talked about, like, in college with people who want to be animators, they were always worried that they always had to, like, just learn how to draw Disney characters, the Disney animation style. And, like, Spider-Verse, you're right, like, has opened up the floodgates to say, like, no, you don't need to draw characters, like, with the big eyes and, like, round features. Like, I went to go see Ninja Turtles this year, and it has, like, some of the most, like, weird and, like, styles you could, like, you know, like, some of the turtles' heads are, like, slanted, and it looks like, but it's gorgeous to look at, and it's a well-animated movie. And again, it's, like, still better than, like, some of the animated movies that Disney put out this year.
I think that's what their director for. I think it was the director or the producer. Don't fact check me. Please fact check. Don't take what I'm saying. Take it with a grain of salt. I forget which one she is, but she was saying that they were trying to figure out if they wanted to do hand drawn or go with I guess it's computer animation, that they would be going with for Wish, and it's easier to it's the storytelling that they wanted to do would work better with computer animation, and it would be longer, more laborious, and more expensive, I'm assuming, to go with the hand-drawn.
Yeah.
Although it's a beautiful art form. So they kind of made it with the style of hand-drawn with the computer animation. That's why they made that decision, because they wanted to, there were some aspects of the movie that they wanted to go harder on with the look of it. So computer animated allowed that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, even I'm thinking about, like, that one Netflix series, but Love, Death, and Robots.
Oh,
like the way they do their
animation. It's a different studio.
Yeah. Even the way they do that. I mean, I saw, like, the zombie apocalypse one. It was crazy. But I think that was, like, I forgot how they did that. I don't know. I don't remember if it was, like, animation. It was a little bit of computer animation, but also, like, hand-drawn. And I forgot how exactly they did. I don't know if you...
Well, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how they did it either, but just speaking of animation and computer, you know, generated image in general, I mean, they have the program Unreal Engine, which is, like, people are making, you know, like, that, you know, Love and Death and Robots quality, or, you know, Sony quality stuff in it, just from, like, a laptop.
Yeah.
So I feel like the technology has grown so much where I've seen some amazing short films made in Unreal, and then combined with, like, painting from like you know, Photoshop or, like, After Effects or something like that.
I mean, Unreal's even a video game engine too.
Yeah.
So, but, like, what do you guys think Disney needs to do? I mean, so I would like to hear your guys' take. Josh, you Letona, and then Marisa. Given that you guys have seen Wish, what do you guys think Disney needs to do at this point now in order for them to get back on track? I guess in terms of their animation movies, of course. Like, what do you think they need to do? Is there anything they need to do, if by any chance?
Do you got one, Mar, or?
I'm just thinking of, like, the history of how the like mixed type of media look was not by them first, and I think for Disney that's kind of a punch in the gut, because they were first at so many other things. For them to not be ahead of the game for this era of animation, it's it's kind of like they're now copying where people would be copying them.
Yeah.
What used to be people copying them, they're now copying other studios. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I really wish I could say that, like, they could keep going on this, like, mixed media look and, like, you know, keep experimenting and everything. But I think they're going to, that maybe that is the answer, but I think they're going to have to figure out where they stand in terms of their look for animation again.
They can lose their ego and just go with a mixed animated.
They could do that. That they could do that too. But Disney's got a big ego. It's a big one.
Yeah.
You know what? I know I kind of shunned off Fantasia 2000, but honestly, if there was a time to have made that film now, it would have been now, not back when they made it. Not to, like, you know. Because my only problem really with Fantasia 2000 is it just doesn't really capture what I thought the original Fantasia did, which was just be completely abstract. I feel like Fantasia 2000 takes things a little too literally. So when you're watching the visuals, it kind of feeds you more than it should, while the original Fantasia just lets your mind wander while you're watching these insane visuals, with this, like, orchestra music. And I think that would have been a project that would have maybe not have been like a box office winner, but at least would have been something that said, like, hey, with everything where the industry is going, we're going to take advantage of it and do something that, like, truly challenges art.
Okay, so that's what they did with the Silly Symphonies and with Fantasia, right? And that's what got them to where they're at. So you might be right in that they need to continue. Maybe they need to do shorts again where they're experimenting. I guess that's what they have been doing too, actually, on Disney.
Yeah,
but like, they keep experimenting. Do Fantasia again.
They need to, like, go
Fantasia
back to, like,
30.
how, like, looking at the music that inspired, like, these projects.
And that's what got them Steamboat Willie to begin with, was combining music and animation. So, like, maybe they can get inspired from that. Yes.
Well, like what we were just talking about 2019 Oscars, like, I Lost My Body was that painted format, but the music, like that was one thing that, like, really sold me on it, was the score. And the score and, like, the way it was animated was just kind of, like, almost reminiscent of that old Disney, you know, style, like that Fantasia type of style. So.
Yeah, so I mean, that would be the way I think it should go, is, like, I guess it's a bit of a half-baked answer, but I think they just need to keep experimenting. Like, I don't, like...
They gotta go back to their roots.
They gotta go back to the roots. Like, I have my general thoughts about, like, Wish and its story, but the animation was not the problem. The film looks gorgeous. And I think they just need to keep pushing themselves and find a story that really fits, because I think they kind of figured that out in the modern era when they came out with Frozen, which we were talking about on the right up here, is that they found a way to subvert the tropes and, like, keep people surprised after, 90 years worth of movies?
I think that's what was so fresh about Frozen. I was just recently rewatching it too.
It's so good.
Because they took all of their versions of Disney Princess and they went, pop, they flipped it. Like, completely.
They did.
They just completely flipped it. The love story wasn't even a love story.
Yeah.
The princess, like, had to, like, she didn't get love through like a significant other. She got love through her family. That's not something that they had done before. And they haven't looked back. Like, I think the last love interest princess was Rapunzel in Tangled.
Yeah.
And they haven't done that since. So that was such a great pivotal movie, not just because it was, like, every child's favorite song to sing. It's not like, it was a lot bigger than that, in the sense that they took what they used to do over and over and over again and turned it into something completely brand new.
I mean, you could say they kind of let go of it.
I'm dropping you off right now and you're calling your Uber. No, I mean, so that's my like gripe with Disney right now, is they did so well with Frozen, and then you hear about those stories about how 3 and 4 are being developed at the same time, and I'm just like,
they're going back to the well, because, like, I love those characters,
but, like, let it go, man.
No,
I'm being serious though. Like, literally let it go. Like, take a page from your own book.
That's the thing, that Disney's gonna milk. Disney milks.
I know.
And when they milk horror.
But, like
Like, how many Toy Stories did we get? That's what I was looking it up.
Man.
That's what was 2019 was
Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4.
A Toy Story.
And we're getting another one.
It's like, dude, come on, man. Like,
I'm tired. No, that's the thing about that's what they do. I loved it. Like, love what they do in terms of animation, but they milk. They will milk hard, and they will shove it.
The question I would offer is just that, we mentioned experimentation, and kind of what we've been talking right now is that they need to experiment a bit more. But nowadays, where does the experimenting end? Because I feel like even with Across the Spider-Verse, they were still experimenting a lot. Yeah. And even not just animation, but other forms like just regular live action filmmaking. I saw an interview with a cinematographer named Shane Hurlbert, I think. I'll fix up the name in post if I'm incorrect. But he was saying how technology is changing so fast for rental houses. People who were the experts in their craft are having to go back to school now to learn all these different technologies. But it's not making any differences because next month something new is going to come out.
Right.
Next month some new camera technology, some new thing to help out with the filmmaking process will come out.
So how do they keep up?
Yeah. So it's how do they keep up? Are they just is it just going to be experimenting?
Well, the answer is you don't have to keep up necessarily, right? It is. You know what? And it's kind of like watching. I think the best way to put it is. What's that Disney Plus documentary about the rides? Is it Behind the Attractions?
Behind the Attractions. There's also Imagineering. That's a really good
story, which
really
is great.
Good one. Yeah.
But there was one point in this where I wanted to just kind of bring up was that I watched the episode about Pirates of the Caribbean, and they were talking about how they really wanted to simulate fire across the one section of the ride.
It was a really cool part.
And so I guess I'll just spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. But basically, they were trying to figure out how to create live fire, and one guy they had was let me show you something, and he pulls them into a room, and all he used was a red light, a blanket, and a fan. So the fire on Pirates of the Caribbean is made of just 3 simple things,
and it hasn't changed.
And it hasn't changed since, and it is a perfect special effects.
Well, did you know that? Did you know that?
Well, I just want to finish my point.
I
That's
didn't know that, but speaking of those special effects, just kind of going on, it's just that maybe you just gotta go back to basics.
Yeah,
You gotta go back to basics, but also with this whole new digital media age, people are expecting this new crazy using the new technology, and Christopher Nolan, for example, for Oppenheimer. For some of the behind the scenes stuff, he said that for the shots where he shook the background, he literally just took a still photo of the background without the actor in it, and then projected that image as they were filming over the actor, and they just shook that image, so it looks but it's such a simple thing.
Yeah.
So it's
anybody can do it.
Yeah, anyone can do it. So it's I think, and how that Pirates of the Caribbean thing, where it's anyone can do that. Anyone so maybe it's
it's you know what it is. It's because we would never, if we didn't know the behind the scenes stuff, we would never know that, and that's what's the magic. Is I feel I don't know if it's because we're movie fans or we're too close, but I feel
nerds.
But I can see the threads. I can see where they sewed it together.
Or even just being on set for filmmaking, it's sometimes the best answer is always the most simple answer. Where it's you don't get too complicated with this. It's not this huge rig setup. It's toss on a tripod and push it with the rug.
Kind of similar to what we discussed from a previous episode about the creator.
Kind of like the setup we're using now.
Yeah, and just kind of to round out this conversation, because I know we're getting on a little of the long, but I think that's why Across the Spider-Verse will be the best picture winner. The best animated picture winner next year. And if nothing else, it's not even just because of its animation, right? Because its animation could be spectacular, but the movie could be okay.
Yeah.
But it actually pushes a really deep story about identity and who we are. Miles' whole arc in that movie is about just figuring out how he fits into things when everyone tells him he can't be what he is.
But he fit in the whole time. And that's the problem is we've talked about this with during our video game episode. Take chances. Tell bolder stories. Don't be afraid to go for it, And I think,
but would it make us some money?
Will it make us some money?
Kind saw.
To take chances doesn't necessarily mean using the most advanced technology systems. Maybe just stick to the simple.
Everyone's
basics.
doing 3D right now. Why not take a chance on 2D? Go back to the hand.
Go back to your basics.
I think that's what they did with Princess and the Frog. I think that one was actually a 2D animation.
It was their last 2D because they had done a series of 3Ds. It was like Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, and something else, I think. And then they caved.
Yeah.
They just said like, well, it didn't work, so I guess the 3D is the future. But yeah, like, I think it's just a matter of like they just need to really contemplate like what they want to do next because they still have a lot of potential with it.
Well, here's to the next 100 years of Disney.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with just everything.
But to kind of round out the episode, I guess, we have one final segment, which was we were going to just talk about
Disney memories.
A favorite Disney memory. We're going to end on a happy note. So let's, if we can just, run through these fairly quickly. I think
it could be park, movie, or otherwise.
Park, movie, or otherwise.
How about we just go start with Marisa, go counterclockwise, or?
Well, and then Brian, yeah.
Brian, all right.
So yes, go ahead, Marisa.
All right, okay. Oh, okay. So, getting off of Rise of the Resistance. No, not even getting off. The whole ride, because it was literally like being in my childhood. Like I was sitting in my living room with my family watching the Star Wars movies with them. And it was like I got to step into the movie, and I hadn't had that experience. I can't even remember the last time I had the experience of that before that ride, but it was so emotional for me because it was like stepping into the screen of my living room that I was crying. I'm thinking about it, I'm like welling up. I started crying on the ride, and then getting off the ride, I was like a mess. I was a hot mess. I was like, this is too much for me. So that I think was probably my favorite Disney experience, and that was one of the last times my whole family got to go and spend time with each other at Disneyland. It was really special. Like my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, me, and Daniel, my husband. We're all there together. It was very sweet. But yeah, that's my favorite one.
Alright, so my turn. I have two, but I know which one I'm going with. I'll share the other one, to you guys off camera later. But so the one Disney memory I have that like always is like pretty cool to look back on, but like my best is that I used to go to Disneyland all the time when I was a kid, even when it was half day, we had passes growing up. So my mom would be like, hey, do you and your sister want to go to Disneyland? Of course we would say yeah. But I have this tradition now with my sister especially, whenever we go to Disneyland, we have to get churros from the stand by the castle.
Okay.
And that's because when I was little, and I'm pretty sure it was my sister told me, I don't think it was my mom. I think my mom just enforced it a bit more. But my sister would tell me that the churro, like the powder, the cinnamon powder that's on the churro, was made by Tinkerbell. When I was a kid. I mean, I'm a kid, so
it's really cute.
I was, influenced in terms of like the thing, and like Peter Pan, the whole magic of it. So like, and then whenever we watch the fireworks at Disneyland, what comes out of the castle? Tinkerbell.
Okay.
So that was something that like I like recently remembered, and like I guess it was subconscious because I didn't remember it until very, very recently. Where I was like, it was always a thing where it's like the churros from anywhere else at the end of the night did not taste the same to me as the one from like the stand in front of the castle. So that's my
Mejia.
That's a sweet memory. Oh my god. I
didn't know you get something like that. Wow.
Mejia, you like Disney. Look at you.
Look at this.
That's real Disney magic right there.
That's some Disney
Never said I
magic.
did like Disney. I mean, I did have a falling out with it, but that's whole other story.
That's very sweet. That's a really great memory.
Yeah. No,
How about you, man? Are we just going to take a moment to process all of this?
Yeah, I feel like we just learned a little about each other.
We did. And we've known each other for a couple years now.
Yeah.
A couple of years. It's been like 5 years.
Josh, what's yours?
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to think of a lot. Like, I used to be a park goer a lot, so I remember going. And I could have, like, a lot I can name off. But honestly, not so much a memory, but, like, I guess how formative this movie was for me was I really loved Lilo and Stitch. I liked that both of those characters are just kind of like troublemakers. They're very like not good kids. And not that I was a terrible kid. I'm sure my mom could vouch. But like it just felt like a kid I could really relate to with Lilo, who just felt like, trouble. She had a blue period like Picasso, like she's a kid with a lot of emotions, and Stitch was just this like little monster like looking for like purpose. And that movie like really meant a lot to me as a kid. And so much so that, like, you know, the Stitch iconography, like, I remember I got, like, all three of these little plushes of him and his Elvis fit, his space fit, and his Dracula fit. And I just love them so much. And I more than anything, I think I just wanted to end with, like, you know, like, I love him so much that I would do his voice. And for the show, I'll give a snippet.
I was about to say, you have to do it now.
I have to do it now that I brought it up.
Okay.
Ha, ha, ha.
Oh, that was so good.
Not bad, right?
That was good. Well
So-
done.
So when are you gonna call your Uber? Jesus.
Well done. Wait, so
Brian.
Picasso had a blue period.
Yes.
Lilo, in her blue period, met Stitch, who is
No. Oh,
blue.
true.
Okay. Anyways,
No,
I'm
it's-
just connecting dots. I'm like, is she a metaphor?
No, it's because
For
she had like a
Picasso?
painting and Stitch like tears it apart, and she goes, "No, that was part of my blue period," which implies she had like a
Oh,
depression. And I was like, "Whoa."
Imagine
Wait,
the
but he also is blue.
He was also blue.
I'm saying it's a metaphor, man.
It's a metaphor.
All right. Anyways,
Brian.
Finish this off, Fred.
I'll finish you off real well.
Nice.
On
On the Disney episode.
the Disney episode,
That out.
there's
Here.
they
I'll finish it off really well
they add those in everywhere.
because this is my favorite, and it was when I was a little kid, and I had the Nokemaka haircut.
Oh my god!
You gotta
look
send
at
that to
you
Mejia
on
so we could, like, put
Dumbo.
on
See, look to all the audience. This is when I was a little kid. My mom got me the Nokemaka haircut, and I was a little kid right there. See,
That's super cute.
so yeah, that's my little favorite
Did you
memory.
Did you enjoy
I enjoyed it. I loved it, and then that was when I was watching all those movies too. So I was looking up that while you were talking, I was looking up that photo particularly because I knew I wanted to show you guys. I probably posted it before, but I wanted to show you guys again, and I wanted to show you guys again because we're getting personal. Anyway, but. Yeah, I mean, apart from that, and then I have one second, like a second tiny one. Just almost shitting myself on the Ferris wheel on the
the California Adventure
California
one.
I will
Adventure one.
never.
I hate that one, dude.
I will never
Swinging
know
one
it.
the
specifically.
sweet- I know, dude. No, I saw somebody just go ape.
There
Just like
are two attractions
oh
I've
my
never
God.
been on at the Disneyland Resort. It's that one because, as I told you guys, I get panic attacks on freaking Ferris wheels. I actually had a panic attack on the Dumbo ride one year. We don't have.
I can see
anyways.
that. No, I can see it.
No,
I can see it.
But that one and I've never been to the President one in Disneyland.
I've never done that either.
The Lincoln, that one, yeah. Those are the only two I've never been on. But
I've-
specifically,
oh.
I don't want a panic attack on the Ferris wheel.
I do like the flyover one though.
The flyover one.
The digital screen.
Oh,
you're
flying over
over
California.
California. Yeah.
I miss the California one. They have the
Yeah.
U.S. or they have flying over the world now. But we're rambling. Anyways,
Anyway.
Final thoughts.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, if you guys want to do a final thoughts, I
Just
mean,
as
I just thought.
usual, like, subscribe,
yeah.
comment, 5 stars, all that jazz.
We're gonna also put Marisa's socials if you want to go ahead and follow her and keep up with what she's doing. She has a pet corgi. So if you don't even like
Yes.
Disney,
He's like a Disney
Oh.
character himself.
Yeah. Oh,
they should make a movie out of it. Disney. No.
that or you could just use AI. No, I'm just kidding. We don't tolerate AI.
Yay.
Forget I said that. Disney's Bob Iger looking at this like, who is this guy? What is he?
Now they're gonna make an AI corgi
Yeah.
movie. Anyways.
Thank you for coming on. I hope
Thank you.
enjoyed it.
Thank you for
being
having
listen-
me. This was so much fun. I get
Yeah,
to talk to my
I
best
mean-
friends around.
Okay, well, apart from that, guys, I hope you enjoyed our episode. This is your host, Brian,
I'm Joshua Mejia.
I'm Joshua
and
Letona.
this is our guest, Marisa Martinez. And yeah, guys, so thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next episode. We're almost there. We're going to have about like 2 episodes left now. So I hope you guys stick with us towards the end, and we'll see you next time. Bye.